Nats Chat is brought to you by Walters. The weekend is upon us, and Walters is a great spot to gather for brunch. From chicken and waffles to Walters breakfast tacos, Walters' menu has something for everyone.
On top of that, for only $20, enjoy bottomless drinks including mimosas, Bloody Marys, Trulies, and old-time lagers. Make your reservation at waltersdc.com today.
In 3 men to the right side, 2 out, bottom of the ninth, 3 balls, 1 strike to count. Doval setting to the pinch hitter Ruiz. Runners going, the pitch swinging a ground ball right side, fielded by the second baseman Estrada. The throw to Belt at first, and this game is over. The Giants have clinched a series victory, taking the first 2 games of the series.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Sunday, April 24th, 2022. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark Zuckerman is off for this installment of the Nats Chat podcast. Mark's enjoying some much-deserved time with the family. Tim Shovers is working tirelessly behind the scenes. In fact, the rumor is that Shovers is meeting with Mike Rizzo because Mike wanted Tim's input on what to do about Patrick Corbin. I've been told that Mike said to Tim, I'll meet with you, but whatever you do, keep that guy Galdi away from me. So yeah, I am here with you talking Nationals, but that's a good thing. It's good to be with you. Hope that you're having a nice weekend. The weather in the Washington, D.C. area has been great so far this weekend. Unfortunately, the Nats are not having a nice weekend, at least not so far. The Nats fell to 6-11 with a 5-2 loss to the San Francisco Giants at Nationals Park on Saturday afternoon in Game 2 of a 3-game series, as the Nats once again were bad offensively and were not good enough with their starting pitching. The bullpen was good again, but the hitting and the starting pitching were not good enough again. And Josh Bell, for a second time in 4 games, left a game early due to a leg injury. There are 2 Nats who have hit well so far this season, as most of you listening know. Those 2 Nats are Juan Soto and Josh Bell. That Bell is dealing with these leg issues is particularly worrisome. Remember, Bell left the Nats' 11-2 loss to the Arizona Diamondbacks at Nationals Park this past Wednesday night due to an ailing left knee. Now, the good news has been that the testing came back clean enough to where Josh has continued to be the Nats' every game starting first baseman and cleanup batter. But Josh Bell on Saturday afternoon in the bottom of the second drew a leadoff 6-pitch walk, but then he left the game after 2 innings. Now, watching the game, you said to yourself, I know I did, well, geez, this left knee now seemingly has reemerged as an issue. The good news is that the left knee was not the reason that Bell left this game early on Saturday afternoon. The bad news is that Bell now has another leg issue, right hamstring tightness. He was to undergo testing. Perhaps this right hamstring tightness isn't that big of a deal, but like I said, second time in 4 games that Josh Bell, who has been at worst the Nats' second best hitter this season, has had to leave a game early due to a leg issue. And obviously, Josh Bell is a bigger guy, so leg issues are things that could be particularly problematic for him, right? I mean, his legs are carrying a good bit of mass, a good bit of weight. Here was Davey Martinez during his postgame press conference on Saturday afternoon on Josh Bell.
Yeah, he's got a right hamstring tightness, so we took him out and we're waiting for, he went to go get an MRI, waiting for him to get back in the results. So I want to be cautious, with the other leg, with his knee, so I just want to make sure he's okay.
Was the left knee earlier in the week?
It was the left knee, yeah.
2 MRIs in a couple of days.
I know, we're wearing out that MRI place, I tell you.
And so the premature exit of Josh Bell on Saturday afternoon was part of another overall woeful game for the Nats in terms of their batting. The Nats totaled just 2 runs, just 7 hits, just 1 walk. The Nats went 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Juan Soto had a bad game, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Nelson Cruz had another bad game. Boy, is he off to a rough start here. I still maintain that Cruz will hit for the Nats this season, but he has not hit so far. Cruz on Saturday afternoon, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Nelson Cruz now in this 2022 regular season has a batting average of just 177, an on-base percentage of just 261, and a slugging percentage of just 274. We all get it with this Nats lineup this season. As Juan Soto, Josh Bell, and Nelson Cruz go, so will this Nats offense. Well, Soto and Bell have done their parts, But Cruz has not done his part, not so far. And, I do think he'll get going, but he certainly has not gotten going yet. Alcides Escobar on Saturday afternoon. Another bad game for him. Boy, is he killing them right now with his batting. And as we've discussed, his defense hasn't exactly been stellar. But Alcides on Saturday afternoon, 0 for 4, left 4 men on base. Your Alcides Escobar slash line so far in this 2022 regular season. Batting average of 143, on base percentage of 222, slugging percentage of 163. Yeah, he's slugging 163. The Nats now through 17 games in the team's 2022 regular season have a team OPS of just 610. That's not good. And consider this, just the run scoring by the Nats. The Nats now through their 17 games this season have totaled a mere 59 runs. 59 runs over 17 games. That works out to just 3.47 runs per game. And it's not just that. The Nats on April 11th won at the Atlanta Braves 11-2. So the Nats in their other 16 games this season have totaled 48 runs. That works out to just 3 runs per game. And I know that offense is down in Major League Baseball so far this season, but those are some tough numbers. I mean, when you are routinely scoring 3 runs or less and your starting pitchers routinely aren't lasting for more than, say, 5 1/3 innings, that's a problem. That's a big problem, and that obviously helps to explain why the Nats are just 6-11. Now, we did have a significant development with Davey Martinez's lineup on Saturday. For the first time in 17 games this season for the Nats, Cesar Hernandez was not the Nats' leadoff batter. He was not the number 1 man in Davey's lineup. I had been wondering how long exactly was Davey going to stick with Cesar Hernandez. The production just has not been there, but at the same time, you want to give a guy a chance, right? Well, I don't want to say that chance is over because we could see Cesar Hernandez back batting in the Nats' number 1 spot sometime soon, but Lane Thomas on Saturday afternoon was the Nats' number 1 batter, and Cesar got dropped to the number 6 spot. So this is significant, not just because Cesar Hernandez had been the Nats' number 1 batter in each of the team's previous 16 games this season, but remember what Davey said not that long ago. Davey on March 15th at a press conference at Nats Spring Training said that he wanted Cesar Hernandez to be the Nats' leadoff batter for the 2022 season. Quote, "I love for him to be our leadoff hitter," end quote. Well, as we saw with Victor Robles as the Nats' number 1 batter to begin last season, what we think will be the case, what we are told will be the case, can end up not lasting for very long if a guy is struggling. And Cesar has been struggling. I mean, he's had his moments. He had that recent stretch in which he hit like a bunch of doubles. But overall, the numbers are not good. Cesar, over the first 16 games of the Nats' 2022 regular season, batting average of 217, on base percentage of just 250, slugging percentage of just 261. Now, Cesar on Saturday afternoon did have 2 hits. He went 2 for 4 with 2 singles. Lane Thomas on Saturday afternoon, 1 for 4 with an RBI single and 2 strikeouts. Thomas in a Nats 2-run fifth had a 2-out RBI single to center field to cut the Nats deficit to 5-2. Remember, Lane Thomas was quite good as the Nats' every game leadoff batter down the stretch of the 2021 regular season. Lane Thomas, right, acquired via the John Lester trade, what remains perhaps the greatest heist in recent Nats history in terms of Mike Rizzo just totally swerving another team. We'll see what ends up happening with Lane Thomas, but that Mike Rizzo got something back, anything back for John Lester, who was really struggling at the time for the Nats, and ends up getting back a guy in Thomas who was productive as last season went on. Tells you all you need to know about how good Mike Rizzo has been at trades over the years as the Nats general manager. But Lane Thomas, over his 191 Major League plate appearances for the Nats last season, as the Nats' number 1 batter. So just looking at games in which Lane Thomas was the Nats' leadoff batter last regular season, on base percentage 361, slugging percentage 491. If you're basing things on merit, you could very much argue that Lane Thomas should have been the Nats' every game leadoff batter to begin this season. For whatever reason, that was not the case. We don't know now that Lane Thomas is back to being the Nats' every game leadoff batter. Like I said, let's see what happens moving forward. Maybe Cesar Hernandez is back in that number 1 spot on Sunday, but there is at least somewhat of a track record here with Lane Thomas last season having done well as that Nats' number 1 batter. Here was Davey Martinez during his post-game press conference on Saturday afternoon on why he batted Lane Thomas in the leadoff spot.
Yeah, I just want to see if we could jumpstart Land a little bit. He did well for us in the leadoff spot. And also, too, when I talked to Cesar last night about letting him relax a little bit and not trying to put so much pressure on him, trying to get on base and just swing the bat. And he did well today. I mean, they both did well. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I know we got a right-handed pitcher against us. I'm going to look at everything tonight and then make a decision how we're going to do that tomorrow.
Do you think this could be something that you might go back to at some point later this season?
Yeah, we might do that. I mean, look, Lane hits left-handed pitches really well. So it was nice to get him up there, against the lefties and see if we can get 2 cracks at him, So I liked it. He hit a couple balls hard today. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
Also for the Nats offensively on Saturday afternoon, a home run. We have not had many homers by the Nats so far this season. We did get a homer on Saturday afternoon.
And now the pitch. Swing by Adams and a high fly ball to deep left field. Peterson going back, way back. Warning track at the wall. He can't get it. It is gone. Goodbye.
Riley Adams was the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, as Keibert Ruiz really has been struggling offensively here lately. Adams in that Nats 2-run fifth on Saturday afternoon, a 2-out solo homer to left field to cut the Nats deficit to 5-1. And Adams homer, despite having been down to the count at one point, 1-2. The homer per StatCast had an exit velocity of 104.3 miles per hour. And Riley Adams, with that home run, became just the 5th Nats player to hit a home run this season. The Nats have not hit many homers, period. In fact, the Nats now on this season have just 10 home runs on the season, but the previous 9 homers had come from a batch of 4 guys: Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Nelson Cruz, and Maikel Franco. So now we can say that 5 Nats players this season have hit home runs, but good for Riley Adams for doing that. It's interesting, on Saturday afternoon, 2 guys from whom not much was expected as last season went on, but ended up being surprisingly productive, ended up playing at least semi-prominent roles for the Nats offensively. I don't want to overstate things, right? The Nats scored just the 2 runs, but you had Lane Thomas being back in the leadoff spot on Saturday afternoon, and you had Riley Adams as the Nats starting catcher on Saturday afternoon. Now, this clearly was to spell Keibert Ruiz. It's not like Riley is taking Keibert's spot as the Nats every game catcher here. But remember, Riley Adams was productive for the Nats last season. Adams in the 2021 regular season, over 90 Major League plate appearances for the Nats, had an .887 OPS. And whereas Lane Thomas was acquired by the Nats in the John Lester trade, remember the Nats got Riley Adams in the Brad Hand trade with the Toronto Blue Jays. And speaking of the Blue Jays, a former Blue Jay, Aaron Sanchez, was the Nats starting pitcher on Saturday afternoon for this 5-2 loss to the Giants at Nationals Park. Aaron Sanchez made his Nats Major League debut. It wasn't all bad, but ultimately the positives only went so far. So the Nats on Saturday morning, as expected, selected the contract of Sanchez from AAA Rochester. Remember, the initial expectation was that Paulo Espino would be starting this game on Saturday afternoon, but Paulo ended up having to pitch in relief. He tossed 2 scoreless innings in the 7-1 Nats loss to the Giants at Nationals Park on Friday night, as the Nats bullpen in that game was leaned on quite a bit due to Patrick Corbin getting shellacked. So the Nats on Saturday morning called up Aaron Sanchez, and in order to call him up, had to clear a spot on the 40-man roster. And so what the Nats ended up doing as a corresponding roster move is designating reliever Patrick Murphy for assignment. Patrick Murphy got DFA'd on Saturday morning. Now, that doesn't mean that he's definitely done with the Nats organization, but when you get DFA'd, that means that you could be done with the organization. So Aaron Sanchez on Saturday afternoon, 4 runs in 4 into third innings. He gave up 6 hits, a double, and 5 singles. He issued 1 walk. He recorded just 1 strikeout. He did throw 43 of his 64 pitches for strikes. Sanchez in the top of the first gave up a run. Sanchez gave up a leadoff bunt single to Mike Yastrzemski, who placed a perfect bunt down the third base line to beat the shift. You want to talk about bunting to beat a shift? What Mike Yastrzemski did in the top of the first inning on Saturday afternoon was like textbook. Sanchez issued a 2-out 5-pitch walk at Darren Ruff. Sanchez gave up a 2-out single to Jock Peterson on a grounder up the middle. Sanchez gave up a 2-out opposite field RBI single to Brandon Crawford through the left side of the infield for a 1-0 Giants lead. Now, Aaron Sanchez did then toss perfect second, third, and fourth innings. So through 4 innings, Aaron Sanchez had allowed just 1 run. That was good, right? You sign up for that if you're a Nats fan, given the state of the starting pitching. But Sanchez then had major issues in what ended up being a 4-run Giants fourth. Sanchez was charged with 3 of those runs. He got just 1 out in that 4-run Giants fourth. Sanchez gave up a leadoff opposite field double to Wilmer Flores down the first baseline, despite him having been down to the count at 1.12. Sanchez gave up a single to Thairo Estrada on an 0-2 pitch. The ball was hit up the middle, went off Sanchez, so some bad luck there. That's true, but still, you had Estrada down 0-2. He ended up making contact off you. Sanchez gave up an RBI sac fly to Luis Gonzalez on a 1-2 pitch for a 2-0 Giants lead. Sanchez gave up a 1-out opposite field RBI single to Kurt Casale to right center field for a 3-0 Giants lead, despite Casale having been down to the count of 1.12. And then that was it. Davey Martinez pulled Sanchez from the game. That 4th inning was frustrating because, as I just outlined, Sanchez had a number of these guys down 1-2, even 0-2, but was unable to put them away. And, Aaron Sanchez is not really a strikeout pitcher. He's a sinker pitcher. If he's leaving balls up, he can get into some trouble, and he got into some trouble in that 4th inning on Saturday afternoon. Here was Davey during his postgame press conference on Saturday afternoon on Aaron Sanchez.
He was cruising along there. He threw the ball well, really, really well. I think in the 5th inning, the ball got up a little bit on him. And when you're a single ball pitcher, you got to keep the ball down. The ball was up a little bit, and I thought that was good. So, but I liked what I saw out of him. And if he can continue to give us innings, and he's going to get better. He's going to get stronger. But he looked good. I was pleased on the way through the ball.
Do you think he'll get another start?
Yeah, I think he will. Yeah, I think he will.
All right, so it does sound like we'll be seeing Aaron Sanchez starting a game again here for the Nats. And, to go back to the Patrick Corbin conversation, this is why what would feel so good to so many is probably not going to be happening, which is the Nats demoting Patrick Corbin to the bullpen. This team remains lacking in legitimate, viable starting pitching options. And so when you need a spot start to be made on Saturday afternoon, as the Nats did, what do? You end up summoning Aaron Sanchez. Understand who Aaron Sanchez is. The Nats in March signed him to a minor league deal. This guy was taken by the Toronto Blue Jays with the number 34 pick in the 2010 MLB draft. Now, for a while, he was a good starting pitcher. Aaron Sanchez for the 2016 regular season was number 1 among qualified pitchers in the American League, an ERA at 3, but his career then fell apart to where Aaron Sanchez, over the next 5 regular seasons, he did not pitch in the 2020 regular season, in 307 2/3 innings, had an ERA of 5.03, an ERA plus of 87, a whip of 158. He, in September 2019, underwent right shoulder surgery. Aaron Sanchez is a reclamation project. And look, you signed him to a minor league deal. It's a total no-risk potential upside signing. So I'm not mad at the Nats for having signed Sanchez, but this is who the Nats turn to when they need a spot start to be made, a reclamation project in Aaron Sanchez. There wasn't some prospect who the Nats called up to make this spot start. A reclamation project was called up to make the spot start. Now we know the number 1 prospect in the Nats organization, Cade Cavalli, will be being called up at some point this season, perhaps sooner rather than later. We'll see. But until then, the Nats remain in this position of just not having much organizational pitching depth. And that's one of the things that really needs to be rectified as this rebuild goes on. And that's why, to me, a big part of this Nats season is adding more inventory to what the Nats have in terms of prospects and getting guys to play well, veterans, and having them emerge as trade chips who you can then flip come that MLB trade deadline. And, that really is the way I think to be looking at this Nats season, big picture. You need to add more to your inventory of prospects because the Nats farm system still is not in great shape. So Aaron Sanchez on Saturday afternoon gave us the latest outing from a Nats starting pitcher this season. That resulted in less than 5 innings of work, but the Nats bullpen on Saturday afternoon gave us another impressive outing. This has been the positive with the Nats here lately, the bullpen. And raise your hand if you expected that. But on Saturday afternoon in this 5-2 loss to the Giants at Nationals Park, 5 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 4 2/3 innings. The reliever who had issues was Sam Clay. He entered the game in the top of the 5th with 1 out, gave up a run, and what ended up being that 4-run Giants 5th. Clay gave up a 1-out pinch hit, opposite field single to Austin Slater to right field, issued a 1-out hit by pitch of Brandon Crawford to load the bases, allowed an inherited runner to score on a Darren Ruff grounder that resulted in an RBI force out, and gave up a 2-out RBI opposite field single to Jock Peterson on a chopper through the left side of the infield to beat the shift for a 5-0 Giants lead. So Sam Clay had some issues, yes, but then the bullpen got the job done. Steve Cishek tossed a scoreless top of the 6th with 2 strikeouts. Now, he did give up 2 singles and a walk. He actually had the bases loaded with 2 outs, but Cishek then struck out Brandon Belt on 7 pitches. Francisco Perez tossed a perfect top of the 7th. Tanner Rainey tossed a perfect top of the 8th. And Kyle Finnegan tossed a perfect top of the 9th with 2 strikeouts. We have not been seeing much of Tanner Rainey and Kyle Finnegan here lately. Way too little of those 2 guys because the Nats have been trailing so often here. But the bullpen gets the job done. I mean, again, ultimately, this is, yes, another game in which Davey has to use 5 relievers, but the 5 relievers combined to give up just the 1 run in 4 2/3 innings. Remember what happened on Friday night? 4 Nats relievers in that 7-1 loss to the Giants combined for 7 1/3 scoreless innings. So this Nats bullpen so far in this series really has been locked down, right? 1 run allowed over 12 innings of work. I mean, how about what went down in the Nats 4-game split with the Arizona Diamondbacks at Nationals Park? The bullpen was really good in 3 of the 4 games. It was terrific in the doubleheader sweep of the Diamondbacks on Tuesday, and then was quite good in the Nats 4-3 loss to the Diamondbacks on Thursday. 5 Nats relievers in that game combined for 4 2/3 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts. The Nats bullpen has had some bad games this season, no doubt, but Nats relievers down this season have a collective ERA of 3.53, and Nats relievers down this season have 75 strikeouts in 74 innings, so more than a strikeout per inning. That's good, although that innings total of 74 stands out, and it's hard to believe that this bullpen success is going to continue if the bullpen continues to be leaned on like this. I mean, you think about this. Nats relievers have totaled 74 innings over just 17 Nats games this season. So the Nats are averaging more than 4 1/3 innings per game from the team's bullpen. That's a big ask for this bullpen. And, you know, now, especially with both Sean Doolittle and Hunter Harvey on the 10-day injured list, the bullpen depth, at least to a degree, you figure is going to be tested, although the bullpen has been really good here in recent games. You tell us what you think. You can tweet us at Nats_chat. You can email the podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you'd like to become a sponsor of the Nats Chat Podcast. What is the only post-game Nationals podcast? We're not with you once or twice a week, you know, having generic conversations. We're with you after every day of Nats baseball, and we give you honest, objective, unfiltered Nats coverage. So if you would like to sponsor the podcast, we welcome you with open arms. You can email Tim Shovers at natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Our new Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt is out. It is red. It is terrific. You can get yours by going to natschatpodcast.square.site. And remember, if you wear a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt at Nationals Park, send us a photo and we'll put it out there for you. We'll tweet it out for you or retweet it. Again, you can tweet us at Nats_chat. You can email us natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nats Chat Podcast. If you don't already do that, subscribing costs you nothing, and make sure that you never miss an episode. Nats Chat is on the radio on Sunday mornings at 9 in both the Richmond and Hampton Roads area. We're on Sunday mornings at 9 on 106.1 ESPN in Richmond. You can listen online at espnrichmond.com, and we're on Sunday mornings at 9 on Sports Radio 96.5 FM and 850 AM in the Hampton Roads area. You can listen online at Sports Radio 965 FM.com. A best of Nats Chat podcast is what airs on those 2 stations. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. Mark Zuckerman will be back with me on the next installment of the Nats Chat Podcast. Hopefully we're talking about a Nats win on that installment of the pod. Until then, though, I'm Al Galdi, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast, and we're going to leave you with a voice memo from our guy John Walker of Alexandria, Virginia, who has provided us with a tale of his first experience at a Major League Baseball game.
Hey, Alan, Mark, this is John Walker, Alexandria, Virginia. My first memory I actually have very little actual memory of. I do have a photo of it. as me as about a 5-year-old or so. It was a game at Wrigley Field versus the Cardinals, and my Uncle Paul took me to it. I remember it because I've got a nice photo of me as a 5-year-old with my uncle and a few of his friends. It's memorable, though, in addition to the photo, just because the reason we went was to see my Uncle Paul's high school basketball teammate, Gary Kolb, play for the Cardinals. He had made the majors, never got much more than a cup of coffee with the Cardinals and the Pirates and somebody else along the way. But my uncle and Gary Kolb played for tiny Rock Falls, Illinois high school in basketball. Almost pulled off a Hoosiers in 1958. They made it to the state championship final before losing to a big city school from Chicago. It's quite the big deal to this day in Rock Falls. But the reason the baseball game is sort of memorable in my mind is Gary Kolb went on to have this, journeyman career. And when he was the Pirates in the late 60s, he was quoted in the They Said It in Sports Illustrated saying, "I had a horrible nightmare last night. I dreamt that I missed the team plane and the flight went down and everybody on the Pirates was killed. They had to bring up the AAA team, and I was still the 25th man on the team," which I thought was pretty funny. My Uncle Paul is also famous in my family for taking me to my first hockey game in the early 70s or late 60s. And I came home from a Little League game, and he said, "How'd it go, Johnny?" And I said, "Oh, Uncle Paul, it was terrible. We got beat 19-1. And he said, "That's okay. It sounds like it was the pitcher's fault." And I said, "I know. I pitched." Till the day he died, my Uncle Paul, who was a terrific guy, great athlete, felt terrible about that. Anyway, keep up the good work on the pod. Really look forward to it every day.
I just feel like today, Jim, this is the day. This is the day. Upright, relaxed stance, tucks the left shoulder in as he cocks the bat over the right. The 1-1 ground ball. Base hit into right! 3